Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Malizia Vendée Globe live show. We are on week 11 of the race, episode 10. As most of you know, sorry for last week. We missed an episode. We were all here, ready, but we had some technical issues that we unfortunately couldn't resolve. However, we are now back up and running, so that's great. And so nice to see you guys with us. As always, we have with us co-skipper Will Harris. Nice to see you, Will. Where are you joining from?
Yeah, hey everyone. Good to be back. I'm joining from Lorient this week and looking forward to heading to Les Sables d'Olonne next week. We're having technical issues onshore and offshore at the moment.
That is for sure. And Pifou, where are you? Nice to have you back with us as well. I think you don't need introducing too much because you're our tech director. Everyone saw you a few weeks ago, but where are you joining from?
I'm in the shed at Lorient in my office, and we are preparing everything for the Level 2 with the tech team.
Nice to have you back with us. And of course, Cole, probably joining from the most exciting location, your boat. Tell us, Cole, how is it there? What are you up to?
It's pretty good. I'm in the Southern Ocean, so it's kind of interesting because I'm switching between the northwesterly and the southwesterly. So I have a front, and I have just like 5 seconds ago hit the front, so the boat wiped out. I jived early so that I could be on this call, and my sailing partner's outside trying to control the outside. So yeah, I'm all good. Holly, are you frozen?
I find it quite funny how Cole, being in the middle of the Southern Ocean, actually has the best internet out of all of us. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing what Starlink can do for you now. But I think Holly's back now.
Yeah, she's
also
back.
having internet issues. We have a storm here. So let's go with 1 to 10 while I'm still here. We're going to start with Will. How are you feeling from 1 to 10?
I am a good 9 this week. It's okay. I mean, it's been. I'd love to see the race be going slightly better. You know, I've had a lot of bad luck the last week, but it's almost the finish, and yeah, no, I've had some nice time at home. It's pretty cold out here in France, but yeah, I'm feeling a solid 9 today.
Nice. And Cole, how about you? And how about you, Cole?
Cole, I think
I'll
you're
go
up
next.
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah, Cole, you are the next.
Yeah.
Can
you hear us, Cole?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. And now I just said it's reconnecting, but all good. Yeah, I think I'm probably like a 9.5 right now. So everything's been going pretty well over here. We haven't had too much damage. I mean, my autopilot is leaking a ton of oil, so I go back there every once in a while and syringe the oil out of the little plastic baggie that I created underneath it, and then I put it right back into the reservoir. So that's been my life. So every 12 hours, I put about 30 mils of fluid back into my autopilot. But I only have 3 weeks of doing this, so it's not that bad. So yeah, like a 9.5. What about you, Pifou?
I want to stay positive, of course, because as Will said at the end of the race, but the last 2 weeks were very hard for Boris and for me, because I think I feel all issue as I am on board. So it's it's maybe 5 or 6, but it's very hard to see Boris who can't sail fast and to see most of the best boats overtaking us. So yeah, it's not easy to leave, and the end of the race will be hard because as will explain, the next 1,000 miles could be very hard for Boris.
Yeah.
So it's a 6, but not more.
I think
Oh.
you've probably been missing on quite a lot of sleep as well the last 2 weeks, because whenever Boris has a technical issue, then Pifou has to be awake all night and trying to solve the problem as well. But
The
we can
whole
talk about that
time.
later. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks for Boris. I think we're just going to carry on while we wait for Holly to rejoin. She says she's in a sandstorm at the moment, but we're going to carry on anyway, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's been a crazy 2 weeks for Boris. Like the lightning, the J2, the foil now as well. Like it's just like these things seem to come in three sometimes, I find, but like it just seems to be a lot of bad luck the last couple of weeks. And hopefully it's gonna, he's gonna be able to get to the finish without any more things like this. Touch wood. I'm touching everything that he can get to the finish cleanly now. But we're gonna take a look at some of the technical issues a bit later on with Pifou, who obviously knows them super well because he helps Boris to solve them. But just before that, I can have a little explanation of the weather, and we can have a look at what's coming up for Boris between now and the finish. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Hope everyone can see my screen now.
Yeah, it looks good.
You can see it. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I'm actually not going to start by talking about the weather. We're going to talk about polars. The polars are what we use to predict the speeds in order to create a weather routing. So we input the speed of the boat with the grid file, which is the weather file, in order for the computer to predict the best route to the finish. Because Boris has broken one of his foils, we've now had to make the polars asymmetric, or Boris will make the polars asymmetric. And for us on shore, we can also sort of compare this and do it ourselves. So you can see here, whenever he's on starboard tack, he can only go slower. He's reduced speed about 70 or 75% because he doesn't have the effect of the foil anymore. And you can see when he's going to be on port tack, he's going to be back on normal speed. But something to consider when we're looking at the expected time to get to the finish. And also, it's very helpful to see, especially to kind of know if the boat's going to be faster on one tack over the other. Now looking at the weather, so at the moment you might have seen that the front boats, or the boats that are left to finish, we've got Jeremy and Sam. They're getting absolutely hammered by storm after storm, and the reason for this is the jet stream. So this is a map of the North Atlantic. You can just about see England and the east coast of America, and basically the jet stream is this very strong area of very strong high-speed winds, which does a whole loop around the planet, and it's about 5,500 meters high at 5,000 hectopascals. And this is basically what defines the storms, the North Atlantic storms that they form over in the east coast of America and they shoot across to Great Britain. Now, normally you would expect to see the jet stream, this high wind, to be going up towards Iceland, towards up over here. But at the moment, you can see, as well as being very strong, it's going a lot more over Western Europe. And that's basically what's causing all these low pressures to be much further south. And currently, there's the weather system that's pointing towards Portugal and Spain, which is sort of defining the 4th to the 15th place boats, their weather towards the finish. And it's going to be like this for the next 10 days. So between now and when Boris and a lot of the next boats finish. So if we have a look at the current weather situation, we're going to kind of split it up into 3 different groups. You've got Sam and Jeremy there, just by the center of the low pressure. We've got Thomas and Justine, who are just on the back of this low pressure. And then you've got Boris with Clarice and Sam Davies and Benjamin Dutroux down over here. Basically, what's happening is one of these low pressures is heading right towards Portugal. And so these boats are trying to stick underneath it to make the most of the downwind conditions before they end up to the west of the low pressure and having upwind conditions and having to tack towards the finish. So the boats that are ahead, they're going to have a bit of an advantage. If we look in 2 days' time, they're going to have been able to sneak just around the corner of Finisterre and be able to point towards the finish. Whereas the boats behind, sort of Justine and Thomas, they're going to get caught up by the low pressure and they're going to have to beat their way a little bit towards to get to the finish. but for the group further behind, for Boris and for Sam, they've still got a much further upwind way to go in order to get to the finish. And there's not really an option to go to the other side of the low pressure because it's heading so quickly towards Portugal. One good thing is the systems are moving very quickly. So very quickly, we'll see that this low pressure is moving in around Thursday or Friday. And in less than 48 hours, it moves the whole way across the Atlantic. So once we get to Friday, we can see, well, that system is quite a bit further north. And Boris and Sam are going to be just on the back edge of the low pressure. And they're going to be looking to get through it in order to have a nice reaching angle, which will be on port tack, which is the good side for Boris because he has the starboard foil and not the port foil. So that will make it a lot easier for him to get to the finish. And we can have a look at that in the routings. You can see he has to sail in this upwind to get through the low pressure. And then they have to get through this second ridge and front. And then they're back into the next low pressure system in order to head towards Finisterre. But if we have a look at in a week or time so, we can see that the next weather system's coming through. Quite a lot of storms coming through. And this is what it's looking like for next weekend. We've got 70 to 80 knots of breeze. And this could prove really challenging for getting to the finish over here. We can expect to see quite big sea state, but this is still a week or so away. So everything can change. At the moment, the routings are looking like 6 to 8 days. But it's a bit hard to predict with the new boat speeds without the polars. And we're just going to have to see and keep our fingers crossed that this storm doesn't end up being too big.
Thanks a lot for that, Will.
That makes
and
sense?
I'm back. That's great. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. So it looks like a lot of tricky upwind conditions there for Boris for quite a while.
Yeah, it's kind of harder and harder, and it's just it's with the jet stream being so far south, you kind of end up with the storm systems just blocking the way, and because they're moving so quickly, it's very hard to keep up with them as well. So Boris is going to have to pick his way to the finish, and then in a week or so's time, when he's approaching the finish line, he's going to have to sort of think about the smart way to get across the finish line, and yeah, in such challenging conditions, maybe up to 60 knots or so.
And
So
what sort of date?
Lots of cheering on, I think, to the finish.
Definitely agree. Yeah, it's not an easy. I spoke to him today, and it's definitely, yeah, not an easy week ahead. I would say, like it's especially with the foil situation, and yeah, wanting to, of course, look after the boat as well. It makes it even more tricky, I would say, in the upwind. And what sort of date are you guys, you and Pifou, predicting for an arrival for people out there interested?
Pifou's actually been better than I have at predicting it so far. At first, I said the 23rd.
I don't know. It's that we have to consider that we don't have the help of the foil on the starboard tack, but we can damage it. So Boris thinks it's not possible to go to sail at more than 40 knots on starboard tack because if the foil move, we can break the rudder, or we can break the D0 on the rig. So it really can't be fast on starboard tack and on port tack because the foil move a lot. He is not sure that he can sail as fast as we want to do. So that's why when I did routings, I try to stay reasonable, and I don't imagine that it can arrive before next Monday evening, Tuesday. But we can have a good surprise, and maybe on port side tack. Is port side tack now since the beginning of the afternoon, and is really fast at 85% of the polar. So maybe it can be good, but
yeah.
We can't know now, and Boris doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's a bit like now the models you use and everything, you have to change them to make the boat like asymmetrical, like I think Will showed. But of course, that's just also an estimate. We've not really been in this situation where you can't use that side of the boat's power. And in terms of, I guess, obviously we have this situation in our team, which is, it's shit for us, but there are other teams also that have had some bad news or had some bad issues in the last day or two. And maybe Will or Pifou, what have you been seeing out there?
Well, I'm obviously gutted about Sam earlier this morning. You know, the top Brit at the moment, top English sailor, and he was fighting for that 4th place, and unfortunately his mainsail has torn in two right in the middle of the storm, and so it's going to be really hard for him to hang on to the places behind. He's got to figure out a way to repair it to get to the finish. There's more upwind, and you can't really sail upwind without a mainsail. So I think that's looking pretty tough for him. So gutted for the fellow Brit.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, and I don't think there's not been so many other people that have had big damages, I think, in the last few days, or did I miss some?
Yeah, but there's Jean Le Cam and Paul Meillat broke the J2 stay.
Yeah.
It's the swivel for Paul and the stay for Jean, but for both the same result. They can't. They were really close to this mast, and they can't use the J2. And
do they still have to be careful now, Pifou? Like with that, they still have to sail carefully now, right? I guess that's the issue.
They had to climb the mast and to put a safety rope to maintain the mast. So for sure, it can be stressful. And Sam Davis, she only broke a block, but it cuts part of the cockpit bulkhead. So she had to walk a bit. And honestly, it's the end of the race is really hard for everybody.
Yeah, especially with the storm coming. I mean, the storm will be scaring a lot of people, I think, at this point, with lots of issues with the boats. It's a bit shit timing, I would say, to have that big test at the end of this race. It's a lot.
Yeah, lots can still happen for sure.
As usual, it's better to be first. You have better conditions.
Yeah, much better conditions.
Yes, Pifou.
It's better to be first.
Yes,
Pifou. Wiser words were never said.
That is the most French thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's better to be first, yeah. Yes. I mean, if we look back a bit, because obviously we didn't have the show last week for the public, but we had a lot to talk about last week as well. So I thought maybe we do a bit of a summary of that before we look at the foil situation. Obviously, if we look back in time, 2 weeks ago, we had what we thought at the time was a big issue and a big fix was the Boris having to climb up the mast and fixing the abalat. And then we had the lightning. Then we had the J2 hook. And then, of course, we had the situation with hitting something with the foil. So it's kind of been one thing after another, I would say, in a very short amount of time. I think these are obviously all incidences that have happened. But the thing that's, I would say, stayed very constant is how Boris has tackled all of this. I mean, I think it's been pretty amazing how he's just gone from one challenge to another and kept going. It's pretty impressive, to be honest, and without much complaint either. I mean, he's been pretty resolute, which is really great. But it has been a lot, I would say. And I think before the foil situation, one of the biggest things actually was the lightning, although maybe it didn't seem like it to everyone outside, but we had a lot of technical damage in terms of the instruments, which I think had quite a big impact that maybe we didn't realize straight away, but did have quite a big impact on performance. Maybe Pifou, you can talk a little bit about that and what happened.
Yeah, that's sure that after the lightning, we lose most of the electronics. So since the lightning, Boris doesn't have any instrumentation. So even if he knows the boat very well and doing 100,000 miles on the boat, it's really difficult to push when you don't have instrumentation at all. You can't check the foil, you can't check the rig, because on board we always have the information to know if the rig of the foil are fully charged or not. And he only has one wind sensor, and that's the number 3, so the calibration is not really good, and he can't really know if the wind is really like he can read on the computer. When he can read the computer, because just after the lightning, he lose one screen. So now this one is back, but it was really complicated, and since this event, he only had one pilot. So before the end of these huge low pressures, it's a stress to have only one pilot.
Yeah.
So it was a big issue, and for sure, when you hit something, you are not lucky. But when you have a lightning on the mast, you are not lucky at all, and we are lucky to be still in race, because it will be hard, and Boris was really amazing to find a solution to continue after this event.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point there, Pifou. Like we're lucky to still be in the race and fighting for the race, and I think it's thanks to what you and the tech team, as well as Boris on board, have managed to do to keep the boat the boat going together, and to keep it all in one piece. And especially those electronics, we're lucky to have a second redundant system, and it seems that only the things that were switched off at the time are still working now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also a bit crazy. Sorry, it's also a bit crazy, right, Pifou, because you were actually on the boat in the US 6 months ago or 9 months ago when we were also hit by lightning. So for people that say lightning doesn't strike twice, it does. What was that like, Pifou? I mean, what was it like being on the boat when that happened also for you?
It was really crazy. We were in the US, and I said that it was a gun shoot. It was really with a big light. Yeah, and I thought that someone shoot, and it was really strange, and all stopped on board. So we lose everything, but we were clearly touched by the lightning. And when I talked to Boris, he said that he thought that the lightning were approximately at 300 meters from the boat, not exactly on the boat. And maybe that's why the last time more electronics continue to work, because at the US we lost everything. Even the engine, it was not possible to start the engine. And that's the first thing I asked him, to check everything and to say it's possible to charge our batteries. And he said, I can charge batteries. That's okay.
That's good.
The most important,
And I think, Cole, you had I don't know if it was similar, or you've been involved in a lightning situation at sea as well, right?
Yes. Not at sea. I was on land, but it's called plasma. So I had where I was in Charleston in the United States, and they get a lot of lightning strikes, especially during summertime, because it's so warm and moist. And I guess a boat next to me had been hit, and I didn't think too much of it. And then I came on the boat, and my entire NKA system said master bus lost. And the whole system was blinking and freaking out, and then just went and died. And then when you took apart the wires inside the mast, because I was like, oh, maybe it's I'll chop off a couple things, maybe it's just corrosion or something. And then you open up the actual cabling, and the wire actually just breaks apart in your hand. It's completely fried. So lightning strikes are really strange because you don't actually have to get hit directly. You can get the plasma that comes from it. So not amazing, but
no, not fun.
Yeah, I hope no one has to go through that.
Yeah, definitely. And so that obviously was a setback. I think watching Boris with the climbing up for the J2 mast, I don't know, I think all of us in the call, I know me and people were texting backwards and forwards, is he down yet? Is he okay? Because for that fix, you, Pifou, I think, and the tech team spent a full day almost working on a repair, because it was super complicated, and also Boris had to choose the condition of when to go up, and that wasn't easy either for the J2. Maybe you can also just give us a bit of an overview of what happened, and what the fix was in the end, and why it was so important to fix the J2 actually.
That's important to fix, because that's the most important sail to come back in the Northern Atlantic, especially when it's upwind like that. but even in the trade winds, northern and southern trade winds, it's the most important sail. And yeah, it was a very long day because our J2 system is a bit tricky. The J2 isn't directly plug on the mast, but we have 1 meter between the mast and the stay where the J2 is plugged. And when you climb a mast solo, you have to be clamped on the mainsail to avoid to move in each wave. So if you are clamped to the main, you can't work on the stay 1 meter from the mast. So we had to find a solution to fix the J2 on the mast, close to the mast on the swivel. And Boris had to prepare an extension for that. So we spent all the morning with our rigger Olivier and with a company who build J2 stay and backstay to know exactly what we can put between the J2 and the mast. And after that, Boris worked all the afternoon to prepare this rope, a very important rope because the load is more than 10 tons. So he has to work very precisely to be sure that it will be okay. And because of that, he climbed the mast at the end of the afternoon and he finished by night. It was very, very long, and we share a long moment of stress before he sent us a message to say that he is on the deck.
Yeah, it was a big relief, I think, for everyone when we got the message that he was safe. So yeah, thank you. That was a perfect explanation. And I think probably the issue of this week and the one that most people want to hear about now is of course the foil situation. I think everyone has seen, I'm sure, the video with the damaged foil. Maybe I guess one of the biggest moments was actually seeing it. I know, Cole, you messaged me like, oh, is something wrong? Like, I think you saw the tracker and we were just about to announce what had happened. Oh, balloons. Not the balloon moment, sorry.
Not the balloon moment.
Not the balloon moment. Maybe you can tell us what emotion you had then, Cole, anti the balloons.
I think that when you look at the tracker, you can see how, and I've gone up the Atlantic when I was finishing my race, and one of the most important things when you're going up that once you cross the equator is you want to stay pretty much as far east as you can without slamming into the waves. So you're cracked off just a little bit, but you can see the competitors that were near him at the time, and they're all pretty much, they were going north, just barely, cracked off. And then Boris was pointed like northwest, and to be next to similar boats and to be pointed off in that degree, and I think he was doing half of what everyone else was doing, that's a pretty big telling sign that something's wrong. And I think first instinct is not to text Boris, "Are you okay?" So I don't know if you wanted to hear that at that moment.
So you text me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is better. This is better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it was such a sad moment, I would say, seeing the videos come from him of that happening. I mean, for you, Pifou, you were obviously, I guess, straight away trying to think of how he secures the foil or like to cut it off. What was happening for you then? What were you thinking? What were you planning?
It happened at 3 a.m. In French time, so in the middle of the night, and we saw that it was the middle of the night for him too. So we saw that it was not really possible to do something quickly. Just after the impact, we already lose the skin around the foil, but the inside part of the foil was already approximately okay. It was in one piece. We saw that it will not stay like that, but honestly, I said that we can wait the daylight, and Boris too. And when 4 hours later, the foil was totally broke. Well, it moved a lot. It already moved a bit after the shock, after the impact, but it was clearly not possible to continue like that. It was not possible to sail at more than 7 knots, approximately 6-7 knots. And the first idea, so we talked a bit about how to cut the foil, because the first idea was to cut it. We thought that it was not possible to put it in the foil case.
Yeah.
And finally, when it came, when you arrive on the foil to start to cut it, he saw that it was possible maybe to move just by cleaning everything around the bearing. Maybe you can try to move. And for me, it was the best solution, because I talked with our composite guys, with Clément and Antoine, and they already cut a foil, and they said that in the shed we need 3 hours to cut a foil in the shed. So we thought that possibly for Boris it will be maybe 5-6 hours, and they don't have exactly the same tool. And today we think, after talking a few days later, we think that it was not possible to cut it with our tool. But it's still in discussion, because we don't know if in 6 or 7 meters of waves in few days, the foil will stay like it is now, and fixed with the ropes, everything, everywhere. If it moved too much, maybe we will not have another solution to try to cut it. But we are not sure that it's possible with tools that Boris has on board.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a wait and see, or what? Like that, it's a decision, I guess.
Yeah, it's wait and see. The plan is to keep the foil like that. We talked again 2 hours ago, and he said that he will try to lift it 20 centimeters more. I don't know if he succeeded or not, but he said that I will try, because he said that 20 centimeters can be a huge difference in the big sea state. But he didn't call me again to say if it's okay or not. So I don't know if he succeeded. And for sure we'll try to add another ropes. But yeah, I don't know. And yesterday evening we didn't show a lot of starboard tack for the end of the race. Finally, as Will said, they will have maybe 300 miles on starboard tack. So yeah, the race is not finished.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's interesting, because I remember when Boris realized he could pull the foil in, we were actually really happy, because we were like, okay, that's amazing, because then we don't have to drop a foil in the ocean, like then it's safer to get home. But actually, possibly now, looking at the weather as it is, it's safer. It would have been safer and easier if the foil wasn't on, to be honest. I think not better for the environment for sure, but safer for the boat.
It's safer, but it's not safe to cut it, because it's not easy. Boris has to be on the foil, and the carbon can cut your skin very easily. And he had something on the arm when he cut it last time. The condition is not easy, and that's why we understand why he's a bit stressed now.
Definitely.
In this condition, boat and weather conditions.
And if you compare it, I guess, to Seb Simon, who lost a foil quite early on in the race, actually, but his fully came off, as far as I understand, right? It was just gone.
Yeah, that's totally different. That's really not the same. When you cut a foil, it's like a daggerboard boat. You have more leeway, of course, but there is a lot of boats without foils of daggerboards. But when you have 300 kilos foils slapping on the boat, it's not the same situation.
Yeah, And I think as well for people at home, like the boat then feels different, right? Like it moves differently, it feels different. And I think that can also be quite disconcerting, I guess.
Yeah, that's maybe Boris told you that, but that's exactly what Boris told this morning. He said, I feel the boat very strange. I never seen something like that. Do I have to check something? Maybe the keel, or I don't know. And my feeling is that just because of the foil, the boat is really, really different in terms of feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Definitely. Well, thank you. That was super interesting. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on the foil, but otherwise we will jump to the promo section.
No, it's just very interesting to hear the whole process of the tech team and how to deal with the different situations. And obviously there's been a few the last couple of weeks, so very good to have Pifou's insight.
We need 1 book or 10 hours to talk about what we do, but we do something like that sometimes to explain how can we go in the foil, and we draw, we talk, we think. It's a long discussion.
Did you draw
find the best
shorts
solution
on Boris? Is there shorts drawn on Boris there?
Is there shorts?
It's the harness. It's the
Oh,
harness.
it's the harness.
The harness.
I thought you drew his...
It was just to show him that he can use a purchase to find the best position to work.
Yeah, I think that's also the interesting thing for people at home. Like you rope in all these different people to try and solve a problem. Like it might be a problem with the foil, but then you're also having to think about how he gets down there, how it remains safe, where does he find all the bits that he needs before he starts. Like it's really like a military operation that has to be so perfect before Boris can even start thinking about doing it. So there's so much that goes on behind a repair like that yeah, I think most people don't even realize how much happens before he even starts the repair. And also the fact that he documented it so well, I thought was amazing. Like when we got the videos from him of the GoPro, seeing him on the foil, like it really brought to life, I thought, how crazy the repair was, him like climbing on the foil with the drill and everything. It's amazing that he kind of brings us with him, I think. Yeah.
The video is nice.
Yeah, the video is crazy.
Yeah.
Really crazy. He's learning from you, Cole, no? Setting up the distance GoPros.
Always have to set up something, you never know. You could get like a dolphin that comes out and like top of you. You just never know. You always want to set up the camera. And even if you never use it, it's still documenting how amazing.
Definitely. I've said it before, guys. I'm going to say it again. But anyone who has some messages for Boris, please put them in the comments at the end of the live show, because in the actual comments on the YouTube, not in the live chat, because Boris is reading them. And definitely at the moment he needs them. It's a really hard week coming up. And I think if we can all support him, that makes a huge difference for him. He really does read them and appreciates it. So if you have time, email or add a comment here and he will see them. So for our promo section, guys, we have a question. It's a bit linked to this week, actually. It's quite good. So what thing or technique is your most important one that gets you out of a sticky situation? It could be a tool. It could be a meditation trick, whatever you want. What thing gets you out of a sticky situation? Who wants to go first? Maybe Will. You're smiling.
It's because this is the question from last week, and I had my answer. It's a bit standard and boring, but the thing that I always do when I'm offshore is I have a head torch always around my neck when I'm offshore, because like often when you go for your first nap in the daytime, and then you wake up and suddenly it's nighttime and you've got to get up and you've got to rush around. And the first thing you have to do if you don't have it around your neck is you've got to find your head torch. And even in 2 hours, if you had a really deep sleep or if you've been really tired, I can never find it. I'll be like, I swear I put it in that pocket or I hung it up here and it's never there. So I just always put it on my neck now.
It's never there.
Yeah, exactly. It's never there. And so I always have it on the neck so that then it's just there at any moment you want it. And especially on these boats where you need to climb to random places and it's dark and it's hard to move around. So that's my.
Do you think Rosie was stealing it? Well, do you think in the ocean race Rosie was maybe stealing it from you?
You know what? I think it was Antoine actually. Antoine would just sort of appear from the bunk every now and then and be like, "Oh yeah, this one will do." When we'd like labeled them all properly,
Taking it off your neck while you sleep.
Exactly. I knew Rose didn't do it because she was the one in charge of the head torches, so she would hate it if people were like mixing them up. But anyway, that's my thing. It's a bit standard, but it's so crucial for me.
I like it. And what about you, Cole?
Oh God, if we're talking about a tool, I was gonna say actually mine was gonna be that any time there's like a bad situation that's happening, I always have to go outside because we spend so much time as solo sailors inside. We're focusing like electronics the whole time. What is the weather doing? And then actually when you get outside and just like look around, you're like, oh, okay, that's the front. That's what I need to be worried about. Like we're driving then. So definitely being outside. But if we were talking about a tool, I am like the micro like eyeglass screwdrivers, like the little tiny screwdrivers that like everyone doesn't care about and they just get rusty and thrown away or whatnot. Those things, if you need to get into anything electrical, you can't touch it with your hands. Like I always have those little stupid things everywhere. They're stashed everywhere in the boat. They're in the rudder compartment. So if I need to get to the autopilot, because there's like a little like disc that's back there that you can only get with this, and I didn't have one for the race, and I was so mad about it. So I have them
like the ones
everywhere.
In a Christmas cracker, Cole, like those little ones you get in a Christmas.
And the Christmas crackers.
Or is that English?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that, but maybe that's not an American.
Get some really Christmas crackers in England. Yeah.
We'll get Cole a Christmas cracker, Will, with an English Christmas cracker.
I totally agree on the technique though, Cole. I'm the same thing. Like if something doesn't feel right, you just have to stick your head out to feel.
Yeah,
okay,
just
how
feel
really
it.
Is it like where is that thing? What does
is it cold? Like is there mixing? And then as soon as you're like, oh, it's been so warm all day, and then you get outside and you're starting to feel the mixing, and you're like, oh, the front's about to hit. Like this is the cold front. Yeah, 100%.
Probably people can do that in real life as well, even if they're not sailing. Just go outside and just feel a bit the world, and then feel a bit better.
Yeah.
And how about you, Pifou?
I'm not specialist as them. I try to see the situation from the sky. That's what Roland Jourdain, the first skipper I work for, said me when I prepared the mini transat. And the forecast for the Cap Finisterre was 30 to 40 knots. And he said, when you will be at the Cap Finisterre, imagine you are in the helicopter and look at the situation is nice and you are lucky to sail in this condition solo on your boat. So that's why I try to say, and that's why we talk with Boris too, that finally the big picture is not too bad. He did 90% of the race. The boat is not okay, but you have a hull, a mast, a keel, a rudder. That's enough. You don't need more to finish the race. So just see the big picture, and but sometimes it's hard.
But it's good words. It's good words, and also just taking it one day or hour at a time, right? Like don't get too ahead. It's okay. It's only 7 days, but like to really just take it one step at a time. Yeah, one day at a time, definitely. Very good advice. I like all of that a lot.
Maybe tomorrow we can say it will be the last Tuesday at sea. It's not the last Monday for sure, but maybe the last Tuesday.
Maybe the last Tuesday. That's nice. I like it. We keep our fingers crossed. Cool, guys. We have the prize section, the last part. So the last time, not last week, the week before, the winner was Saskia N. Please email us and we will send the prizes at the end of the Vendée. So the first person to put the right answer in the live chat wins, guys. All the terms and conditions are in the description below. What is the full name of the sailor that damaged their mainsail today? What is the full name of the sailor that damaged their mainsail today? Please put the answer in the live chat. Also, Cole, I was going to say it last week, but congratulations on being nominated for Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Super cool. It's a bit late now. I know it was last week, but very congratulations still. And
That's cool.
yeah, we can't vote. I tried. I actually looked if I could vote, but we're not allowed to vote. I found out it's like a internal jury, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. They've been doing it for like 100 years, and they're very particular about it. So
I want.
Who is in the jury? Maybe we can
I know. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It will be good.
Well, our fingers are crossed for you, so that's super exciting. And
Thanks,
yeah, and also last thing is that Dani has been working away behind the scenes, so thank you for all the production, but also she turned this whole series into a podcast, which will be available from tomorrow. So if anyone really likes podcasts, they can go back and listen to any episode. It was a recommendation from the audience, so we've done it for you. And it will be live tomorrow. It's called the Malizia Vendée Show on podcasts. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. We will be back next Monday for sure. We will be live, most of us, I think, from Sable d'Olonne at that point. So we will see you guys then, 6 p.m. CET next Monday. Thank you so much all for joining us. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I think we all have to leave.